But one could see that, centered around the breath soil, deep within the decayed wood core, a strand of brand, new, vibrant wood had been nurtured, stretching upward with all its might. If this new wood could tightly stitch together the fissures on both sides, this dying divine tree might yet regain its footing and foundation. The blue-robed woman turned at the sound, only then realizing the drastic change that had befallen the divine tree. She quickly stepped closer for a look, and astonishment immediately surfaced on her face. Breath soil, where did you get breath soil? The white fox beauty also moved over with quick, graceful steps, her beautiful eyes suddenly wide, and blurted out, "We have searched for breath soil before. Its original source, the breath origin immortal mountain, lies deep within the eastern heaven realm, which is a world of darkness. We couldn't enter it at all. How do you have it?" Over the long ages, the Netherworld realm had not lacked the intention of targeting the breath origin immortal mountain. Alas, the eastern heaven realm was a forbidden zone that they simply could not set foot in. A brief flash of joy crossed the blue-robed woman's face, then that glimmer dimmed, and she sighed softly. "It's a pity there's only one grain, a drop in the bucket." She looked toward Fang Chen, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Brother Fan, you are thoughtful. The destiny of our Netherworld realm is thus. There is no need to further." Before she could finish, her words suddenly stopped. Because Fang Chen extended his fist, and as his fingers slowly opened, in his palm was unmistakably a small handful of breath soil, emitting a hazy glow. Ah, so much breath soil! Several white fox demon sovereigns cried out in shock, no longer able to contain the wild joy in their hearts. The breath soil before them numbered over 200 grains. Scattered and buried into the various fissures, they could fully connect each ruptured spot, one by one. The blue-robed woman also found it hard to steady her emotions, and asked with a trembling voice, "Brother Fan, are you truly giving these to us?" Strictly speaking, these are shed fragments of the realm embryo, each grain incomparably precious. Fang Chen grabbed the blue-robed woman's hand, poured all the breath soil into her palm, and said resolutely, "Say no more. Time is pressing, let's act quickly." What did a handful of breath soil count for? Back then, he had given away great handfuls of breath soil to the ginkgo tree, to heavenly listening bodhisattva, to Gu Zinner, and even the Fengdu domain lord of the Hell realm had received his gift. This blue-robed woman before him had been willing to give up the divine tree's lingering survival just to gift him the Blood River ghost flower. What harm was there in gifting back a handful of breath soil? Feeling the heavy weight in her palm, the blue-robed woman gazed at Fang Chen, her heart surging with emotion, deeply moved. They were mere strangers meeting for the first time, yet Fang Chen was helping her so selflessly without regard to cost. A great kindness is beyond words of thanks. She said no more, only distributed the breath soil from her palm among the white fox demon sovereigns before her, and instructed, "Quickly bury the breath soil." Only the white fox beauty received not a single grain in her hand. The blue-robed woman turned to her and said, "Yu Yan, take uncle to pick the Blood River ghost flower." This time, Yu Yan did not resist. Whether or not the breath soil could save the divine tree, Fang Chen's devotion to the Netherworld realm merited obtaining the Blood River ghost flower. She glanced at Fang Chen and said flatly, "Marquis champion, follow me." However, making her utter the two words uncle was absolutely impossible for her to say. With a wave of her sleeve, her form transformed into a swift shadow and shot into the distance. Fang Chen's heart surged with anticipation, and he immediately followed closely after. The blue-robed woman dismissed the others and herself held a handful of breath soil ready to act. Before leaving, she swept a glance at Feng Lingxiao, who stood rooted outside the void rift, then glanced at the giant sack beside him and said flatly, "Keep that fine treasure of yours for looting others during a crisis." Recalling that shameless face of his just now, she felt a wave of disgust. In comparison, Fang Chen was far too likable. No wonder one of them is the Marquis champion and the other a mere viscount. The gap is clear. The blue-robed woman muttered softly, then her form dissolved into a blur and drifted away gracefully. Fang Lingxiao, already livid because his scheme had been ruined, hearing this mutter, his face instantly turned from livid to black, so grim that it seemed water could drip from it. "Fang Chen, if you've got guts, don't leave the Netherworld realm." He had roamed the myriad heavens. When had he ever suffered such a humiliating disgrace? If he did not avenge this grudge, how could he swallow this bitter resentment? He furiously stowed away the giant sack and simply sat cross-legged outside the Netherworld realm, waiting for the rabbit to come running to the stump. Undying Mountain, northern region. In a valley near the beach, a massive formation was inverted like a bowl, tightly shrouding the entire valley. Within the valley was a spring eye, connected to the blood sea, which constantly bubbled out thick, viscous blood water year-round. This blood water flowed through the divine tree, containing its essence, and thus nurtured vast patches of heaven and earth spiritual treasures in the valley. Yu Yan stood with hands clasped behind her back above the formation and said to herself, at its peak, Undying Mountain once had 9 such spring eyes, and the spiritual treasures they produced sustained all the warriors of the Netherworld realm. Several thousand years ago, the springs gradually withered, and now only this one remains.
Fang Chen had a faint realization.
He had originally wondered the blood sea was filled with boundless yin and gloomy power, utterly unsuitable for the growth of spiritual treasures. So how did the humans and demons of the Netherworld realm cultivate?
So it was the essence of the divine tree silently nourishing them.
He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. If the divine tree had a spirit, it must surely be a benevolent creature.
Knowing full well that its life was fading away, it still transformed its essence into spiritual treasures to nourish the living beings on this land.
Just as falling blossoms are not heartless, even when they fall and turn to mud, they become spring soil to protect the flowers. Its life had not withered, it merely continued on in another form, quietly and subtly. Threads of enlightenment flickered in Fang Chen's mind. He thought of the star abyss great venerable, of the Confucian lineage in the primal chaos state.
That spring mud plan, which had consumed 1,000 years, and passed through over a dozen generations, was it not also burning themselves to forge a future for later generations? Though they were dead, their departed lives safeguarded more newborns of the Central Plains, ensuring their safe birth into the world.
This, too, was a form of life's continuation.
Vaguely, he felt as if he had touched upon something profoundly far-reaching.
This is the largest spring eye, and the only place where the Blood River ghost flower grows.
Yu Yan's words interrupted Fang Chen's contemplation. Fang Chen looked down through the formation and indeed saw, floating in the blood water flowing from the spring, a bizarre black flower resembling a ghostly face. At first glance, it somewhat resembled the calamity, averting black lotus of the Central Plains, exuding an ominous feeling throughout. However, it was precisely with the seeds of the calamity, averting black lotus, that his godmother broke through the 5 declines of heaven and man in one fell swoop and achieved the rank of Great Venerable. Yu Yan formed hand seals and began chanting the incantation to undo the formation. Seeing this, Fang Chen suddenly raised a hand to stop her and said gravely, "Hold on. First, check our surroundings. The closer one is to success, the more cautious one must be." With the divine tree about to collapse and heaven and earth in turmoil, such a treasure would inevitably attract covetous eyes. Yu Yan was slightly taken aback, then understood. Indeed, times were different now. In ordinary times, naturally no one would dare covet this place, but now that might not be the case. She immediately unleashed her powerful perception, her divine sense sweeping over the surroundings like a tide. A moment later, she shook her head, no one. Saying so, she was about to continue unlocking the formation. Is that so? Still uneasy, Fang Chen decisively activated the heart of 10,000 soils, sensing the heartbeats of living beings in all directions. Indeed, no heartbeats were detected nearby. However, the heart of 10,000 soils detection only worked when the other party did not conceal themselves. For absolute certainty, he simply expended a bit of domain power and unleashed his 4th domain to sweep across all directions, probing for any defects in heaven and earth. The domain first swept over Yu Yan, beside him. He sensed that her aura was robust, her physique powerful, her soul abundant, and she had no flaws whatsoever. The only slight flaw was that the demon bloodline within her was not pure enough. She could not advance her realm relying on it unless someone provided her with saint blood of the demon race. Just as Fang Chen was secretly analyzing this, he abruptly noticed that on the other side of the great formation, that patch of space seemed quite unreal. His gaze suddenly sharpened, and his hand swiftly formed a seal, square mountain, shared moon. Above the sky dome, a full moon abruptly materialized, then transformed into a thick pillar of light that brutally pierced through that space. In the cascading moonlight, an eggshell-shaped vacuum silhouette abruptly appeared. That was a grand formation with both defensive and stealth capabilities. Yu Yan's gaze turned icy cold, and behind her, 9 snowy white tails suddenly manifested. One of them violently pierced space, fiercely stabbing at the eggshell like vacuum. With a crisp crack, the formation shattered upon impact. From that previously empty void, an old man with 5 blazing divine rings behind his head tumbled out in a wretched state. Yu Hua had laid waste to his clothes, his flesh flayed and split.
There really is someone. Yu Yan was taken aback and could not help but cast a deep look at Fang Chen. Even as a demon venerable, she had sensed nothing, yet Fang Chen had precisely flushed out this person's hiding spot. This guy is truly shameless, but he does indeed have some real skill. Her gaze fell upon that human old man, scanning his body and instantly seeing through the condition within him. Discovering that he lacked the unique dark energy of Netherworld beings, her face turned icy cold. Apart from you, who else? It was highly likely that this group was the one that destroyed the divine tree. The old man remained motionless, his eyes blank, as if his intelligence had been wiped away. Fang Chen instantly saw the clue and shouted in a deep voice, "He is a puppet of the Asura Saint Sun." Yu Yan's expression sank like water. What use is sending a puppet? Since it's that person's puppet, just destroy it directly. Before her words had faded, the giant snow-white tail behind her once again tore through the air, thrusting forward. The distance between them was merely 1,000 zhang. To a sage, it was a matter of an instant. Who would have thought, just as that tail thrust to within a zhang of him, it suddenly seemed to fall into an invisible mire, its speed becoming agonizingly slow. Yu Yan's expression changed slightly, exclaiming, "Time law." She resolutely tried to retract her tail to avoid falling into danger. But this reaction was ultimately a step too late. A muffled bang rang out as the life pouch at the puppet's waist suddenly exploded without warning. 3 figures entwined with phantom chains of law abruptly emerged from the burst of light. 2 of them were of alien races, and 1 was human. Without exception, all were at the sage realm. That human sage had a thin, rugged face, a pair of handlebar mustache, and a most lecherous appearance. His lips curved into a mocking half-smile as he spoke slyly, "So it's the renowned Princess Yu Yan of the Netherworld, heh, we've caught a big fish. If we present her to the master, he'll surely be pleased." Before he finished speaking, he smilingly raised his palm, clutching a pitch-black iron hook, and viciously hooked it toward Yu Yan's foxtail. Yu Yan's face changed drastically, her heart suddenly seized by alarm. They had actually unleashed the law of time acceleration. The flow of time where they stood was a full 10 times faster than the outside. Thus, this hook truly struck like lightning, while her attempt to retract the tail was as sluggish as wading through a swamp. There was no time to pull back the tail. At this critical moment, a sudden weight pressed down on her shoulder, followed by a dizzying whirl of heaven and earth. When she regained her senses, she was already 1,000 li away and had even emerged from the ground. She turned her head and saw Fang Chen holding her shoulder with one hand while grasping that strange pendant on his chest with the other. Naturally, it was Fang Chen who had activated the heart of all Earth at the crucial moment, teleporting her here in an instant. Yu Yan was slightly dazed, a complex and indescribable feeling rising in her heart. She actually had to rely on Fang Chen to save her. Feeling somewhat ashamed, she turned her face away, looking elsewhere and muttered unnaturally, "Thanks." But Fang Chen stared gravely into the distance, speaking in a low voice, "You'd best save your thanks for later." Before his words faded, the space around them twisted, and 3 figures materialized from illusion to reality, reappearing once more. It turned out that the array was personally set up by a great sage, and 3 cultivators at the 1 calamity stage had no way to break it. Only by capturing Princess Yu Yan could they force her to undo the grand array. The lecherous middle-aged man fixed a dark gaze on Fang Chen, coldly threatening, "Brat, mind your own business. Leave now, and this sage won't detain you. But if you meddle, I'll destroy both your body and soul." With one hand still gripping Yu Yan's shoulder, Fang Chen sneered disdainfully, "Your master himself wouldn't dare boast like that to me. Are you even worthy?" As he spoke, he willed it once more, preparing to activate the heart of all Earth to take Yu Yan away. But just then, the continuously trembling Earth suddenly lessened its quaking. Simultaneously, an indifferent voice resonated in the minds of all 3, the voice of the Asura Saint Sun. "The tree root is changing, go quickly." The lecherous man was startled upon hearing this, cast a regretful glance at Yu Yan, and immediately called out, "Let's go." Their figures flickered, about to dissolve into emptiness and escape. A flash of understanding crossed Yu Yan's beautiful eyes as she instantly grasped the situation. The 3 of them were going to stop her clansmen from saving the divine tree. Her clansmen were scattered everywhere. If any one of them were besieged by these 3, they would surely fall, and the effort to save the divine tree would end in failure. She made a decisive move. The 9 foxtails behind her instantly merged into one, sweeping out horizontally, engulfing heaven and earth.
3 muffled booms resounded as the 3 sages, who were in the midst of turning ethereal, were forcibly shaken out of their state. The lecherous man snorted coldly, his killing intent surging. "I spared your life, yet you seek your own death. Attack with full force, capture if possible, kill if not. Do not let this minor matter jeopardize the greater cause." Compared to the Blood River ghost flower and those heavenly treasures, destroying the divine tree was the top priority. Therefore, if necessary, they would have to reluctantly slaughter this great beauty of the Fox clan. Yu Yan's face was like still water as she shouted without looking back, "Champion Marquis, go find my mother and ask for reinforcements." Fang Chen glanced at her, thinking to himself, "This woman appears cold and aloof, but there's still a trace of kindness in her." In the time it would take him to go and return, Yu Yan would have long since fallen under their siege. How could Yu Yan not understand this? By sending Fang Chen to fetch reinforcements, she was actually telling him to flee first and seek shelter. Fang Chen put away the heart of all earth, a rogue smile tugging at his lips as he declared boldly, "How could an uncle abandon his niece? I'll stay and fight them to the end with you." Yu Yan turned and glared fiercely at him, angry. "Who's your niece? Leave now, don't get in my way." But she had no time to spare, for the 3 had already launched a swift and ferocious attack. The lecherous man directly summoned a pitch-black divine monument, precisely the karma monument unique to fallen sages. The monument shuddered, and a massive force of karmic sins surged into his body. He abruptly opened his mouth and spat, as the karmic force transformed into a horrific skull, with streaks of black law chains flickering on and off upon it. Behind another alien, a massive phantom of a black toad appeared, its body covered in protruding pustules, belching billowing poisonous fumes. The toad suddenly opened its mouth and spat, a long tongue drenched in deadly poison, shooting forth like a swift arrow. Behind the last alien, a giant black ape phantasm manifested, wielding a colossal black staff as massive as a mountain, smashing down with earth-shattering force. The full force strike of the 3 made heaven and earth tremble endlessly. Yu Yan stood solemn, a profound sense of helplessness welling up in her heart. She knew very well that she could not last many exchanges, and would soon die under the siege of the 3. Yet her gaze remained as sharp as a blade. As long as she could buy a bit more time for her mother and clansmen, then this sacrifice would not be in vain. She immediately activated her innate talent, and behind her a gigantic snow-white fox phantasm abruptly appeared, charging headlong against the trio's onslaught. The lecherous man sneered ferociously, like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. "With just this one strike, we can shatter most of her phantasm and injure her." Sure enough, the snow-white fox phantasm let out a soul-shaking shriek, forcibly holding back the lecherous man's skull. But the toad's venomous tongue had already coiled around the fox phantasm's neck like a poisonous snake, constricting so tightly that flakes of law energy peeled off. And that black ape swung its great staff, lashing at the fox phantasm with world-destroying momentum. This blow was enough to dissipate most of the fox phantasm. Yu Yan, whose mind was linked to it, would inevitably suffer severe injuries. 1 against 3 was, from the start, a death match. Yu Yan felt a pang of despair. No miracle would occur after all. Today would be the day she fell. However, just as the great staff was about to crash down, a circular ice-like grand array abruptly materialized, blocking in front of the fox phantasm. The array rotated rapidly, sharp as a saw, directly slicing off a large chunk of the staff. That alien sage cried out in pain, hurriedly controlling his phantasm to retreat, staring in shock and uncertainty at the one who had intervened. They saw that beside Fang Chen, a sage wreathed in circulating ice, Dao laws, had appeared out of thin air. It was precisely Sage Bai Yan, who had been recuperating inside the spatial mirror. After several days of rest, he had long recovered, and at this critical moment, Fang Chen had summoned him to aid in the battle. Fang Chen laughed. "Taoist Bai Yan, this time you can't desert in the face of battle." Sage Bai Yan's expression stiffened with embarrassment. He cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Taoist Fang, stop mocking this old man. Even if I must die in battle today, I will never retreat." He recalled the battle in the southern heavenly realm, where his relationship with Fang Chen had been purely transactional, survival above all. Now, Fang Chen had saved his life, a debt of gratitude he must repay. Fang Chen replied, "Dying in battle shouldn't be necessary. Just hold on. We only need to wait until the experts from the Netherworld have their hands free." Sage Bai Yan felt immensely reassured. Right at that moment, a vicious light flickered in the alien sage's eyes. Seizing the instant Sage Bai Yan was distracted, he controlled the black ape phantom to leap into the air and launch a brazen sneak attack. Sage Bai Yan gave a cold snort. "Brute force, is it? How fortuitous. This old man's path of ice is the perfect counter to you.
Before the words had fully faded, a sharp, dense chorus of whoosh, whoosh, whoosh split the air. From the rapidly spinning grand array of icy light, 10,000 ice spikes erupted violently. The pouncing black ape phantom, caught completely off guard, instantly became a living target. It desperately spun its giant club in a circle before its body, struggling to fend off the barrage of ice spikes. Sage Bai Yan's hands flew into a seal. A colossal iceberg surged forth from the grand array of icy light and smashed ferociously into the black ape phantom. The unprepared black ape phantom, along with the alien sage controlling it, was blasted far into the distance. Sage Bai Yan beckoned with his hand. A crystalline fan imbued with the very laws of the Ice Dao flew into his palm. Wielding it, he charged straight at the enemy. Fang Chen's mouth twitched involuntarily. He thought to himself, so this is Sage Bai Yan's true power. Back in the southern heavenly realm, that old fox was absolutely just going through the motions. Sage Bai Yan's abrupt appearance shocked both the sleazy, middle-aged man and the toad alien. They never imagined that Fang Chen had been hiding a sage up his sleeve. A flash of delight crossed Yuyan's eyes. With Fang Chen's friend lending aid, the crushing pressure on her lessened instantly. Though victory was still out of reach, this was enough to stall for a long while, perhaps even until her mother arrived. Deep gratitude welled up in her heart. This glib, tongued, utterly irritating fellow had actually done her an immense favor. Fang Chen, however, paid it no mind. He yelled at the top of his lungs, "Filthy toad, let go of my niece and come at me." That single shout instantly shattered Yuyan's composure. She shot him a furious glare, cursing inwardly. If the situation weren't so dire, she would teach him a harsh lesson and silence that mouth of his for good. Suppressing her anger, she snapped in a clear voice, "Stop causing trouble. Get away from here." The words had barely left her lips when the 9 foxtails behind her suddenly fanned out, sweeping toward the toad phantom like 9 arcs of silver rainbow light. The pustules covering the toad phantom's surface erupted like volcanoes, spewing a suffocating, sky-blotting torrent of thick black poison mist. The instant Yuyan's 9 snow-white foxtails made contact, the virulent poison tainted them immediately. Their tips turned a horrifying dark purple as the corruption raced toward her body. Excruciating pain knotted Yuyan's brow, but she gritted her teeth and fought on stubbornly with her marred tails. Seeing this, the toad alien sage let out a gurgling, eerie chuckle. "Let's see how long you can hold out." The sleazy, middle-aged man also seized the opening. He urged the giant skeleton formed of karmic obstacles forward. While the fox phantom was immobilized by the long tongue wrapped around its neck, the skeleton shattered its screech and lunged, its colossal jaws snapping down to tear it apart. A sharp glint flashed through Fang Chen's eyes. Without a shred of hesitation, he made his move. He abruptly raised a bizarre white bone pipe to his lips, gathered his strength, and blew hard at the sleazy, middle-aged man. A formless, intangible soul needle tore through the air, shooting forth with explosive speed. The sudden soul attack made the sleazy, middle-aged man's eyelids twitch violently. He decisively summoned the karmic obstruction, divine steel, before him to protect himself. All the karmic obstacles that had transformed into skeletons also swirled back, coiling protectively around his body. A piercing ding rang out. The soul needle slammed fiercely into the divine steel, shattering into fragments on the spot as its residual soul power dissipated into the karmic phantom. The sleazy, middle-aged man hissed through his teeth in pain and bellowed furiously, "You little beast, you dare ambush me." Before his shout ended, his entire body shifted from solid to ethereal and dissipated in an instant. Yuyan's beautiful face drained of color. She cried out urgently, "Get out of the way." But from the very spot where Fang Chen had just stood, the sleazy, middle-aged man's figure emerged from thin air. His hand, shrouded in thick karmic miasma, clawed viciously toward Fang Chen's head. His claw struck down, but the Fang Chen before him dissolved into scattered afterimages and vanished silently. It was nothing more than an afterimage. The sleazy, middle-aged man scanned left and right, yet he could not find a single trace of Fang Chen. Just as confusion filled his mind, he suddenly noticed a dazzling 9-colored radiance flashing in the air above the toad alien sage's head. He cried out in alarm, "Lai Ju, watch out!" The toad sage also immediately sensed the lethal anomaly above him. He thrust his palm upward to strike the sky, his terrifying sage power ripping through layers of space. The void shuddered violently, forcing Fang Chen's silhouette to appear. Wreathed in 1,000 Jiang 9-colored sword aura, he plummeted from the 9 heavens and stabbed straight down at the poisonous toad's colossal phantom. Though the incoming palm strike scattered over half of the sword auras, the rest still plunged downward like divine punishment. The toad sage tried to maneuver his phantom aside, but its long tongue was tightly locked around the fox phantom, which meant his own phantom was also anchored in place. In the next instant, the 1,000 Jiang 9 colored colossal sword pierced straight through the toad phantom, violently cleaving it in two.
Their souls intrinsically linked, the toad sage let out a harrowing howl of agony and spewed a great mouthful of foul, toxic blood.
Shock and fury warred on the sleazy, middle-aged man's face.
In that instant, he understood. Fang Chen's initial attack on him had been a decoy, a ruse to lure him away from the toad sage's side and unleash this fatal strike. Killing intent surged in his eyes, and he snarled. A measly ant dares to meddle in a battle between sages.
The sleazy, middle-aged man transformed into a blur, ready to give chase and kill.
But the moment he shot into the air, the newly freed white fox phantom let out a piercing, desolate shriek that blasted him out of his void state. Yuan's voice was as cold as ice. Your opponent is right here. After being suppressed for so long, it's finally my turn for a one fight. Without turning her head, she added to Fang Chen, Marquis Champion, if you can't hold on, flee immediately.
Fang Chen laughed heartily. Niece, you take care of yourself too.
Yuan gritted her teeth. She no longer had time to bother with him. Her long tails and innate divine abilities erupted simultaneously as she attacked the sleazy middle-aged man in a frenzy.
The wounded toad sage, consumed by shame and rage, roared in a low voice, "Boy, you're courting death." He exploded with the terrifying aura of a sage, attempting to oppress Fang Chen with his overwhelming might and find an opening for a single, killing blow.
To his utter surprise, under that mountain-like sage pressure, Fang Chen was completely unharmed. Right before the toad sage's eyes, he even performed the selfless purification art and vanished from the spot without a trace.
The toad sage extended his perception, yet failed to detect any trace of Fang Chen. He bellowed in fury, "You rat, show yourself and face me if you have the guts." His words were still hanging in the air when a sharp rip tore through the void. A pitch, black long sword, without any warning, expanded to 1,000 zhang and stabbed abruptly at his chest. Far from angry, the toad sage's lips twisted into a vicious grin. So easily provoked. You are still far too young.
PFFD.
An even larger toad phantom materialized in that space and spewed a suffocating, terrifying wave of poison, mist that instantly engulfed Fang Chen.
This poison was a lethal substance that even sages dreaded. A mere deity transformation cultivator who encountered it would dissolve into a puddle of blood on the spot. As the poison mist churned and enveloped the area, a body truly tumbled out, a rigid Fang Chen clutching his black sword, utterly devoid of life. A smug grin was just forming on the toad sage's face when he suddenly sensed something was very wrong.
This body, which should have rotted and dissolved, was completely unharmed. Upon closer inspection, he realized the shell was already saturated with deadly toxins.
Thus, it had no fear of his poisonous mist.
This isn't his true body. The toad sage's expression changed drastically. He immediately realized he had been deceived. The thought had barely crossed his mind when a blood-red, ferocious iron claw attacked him like lightning from behind. The wickedly sharp claws tore straight through his sage-level flesh and embedded themselves deep into his back.
SSS, the toad sage gasped in agony. He grabbed the iron claw behind him and laughed in a fit of rage.
Fine. To think I've been made a fool of repeatedly by a mere deity transformation ant.
Your claw, there is a rare treasure. Allow me to take it off your hands. A blood claw, capable of piercing his sage body, was undeniably a priceless treasure.
Given the vast disparity in their physical strength, by pinning this claw down firmly, Fang Chen would never be able to retract it. However, in the next instant, an immensely powerful force suddenly erupted from the blood-red claw. That monstrous force dragged the blood claw relentlessly, raking it viciously down along his spine.
Wherever it passed, skin tore, muscles burst, and even his internal organs were hooked and yanked outward.
The boundless, excruciating pain tore a horrifically miserable howl from his throat.
He couldn't believe that a mere transformation, God Cultivator's physical strength, was not one bit weaker than his own. As the two forces wrestled, the blood claw slowly but inexorably ripped his entire back open from top to bottom. Amidst the toad sage's unending, piercing screams, Fang Chen yanked downward with full force, and the toad sage's intestines were brutally hooked out and spilled all over the ground. This gruesome scene completely shocked Yuan and the vulgar middle-aged man, who were locked in fierce combat. The two simply could not believe their eyes. A transformation, God Cultivator, had actually tortured a sage to such a state. The vulgar middle-aged man was seized with shock and fury, his mind reeling. What in the world is this guy? This was supposed to be a guaranteed 3 against 1 victory, yet it had devolved into this current mess. Even more unsettling was that the divine tree in the distance had stopped shaking, indicating the Fox Demon Clan had fully repaired it. That terrifyingly powerful great sage would soon sense the sage-level fluctuations from here. If they didn't leave now, they would all be finished here. Retreat, the vulgar middle-aged man spun around abruptly and fled in a panic, abandoning his comrades. The alien sage, who had been steadily beaten back by Bayan sage in the distance, also decisively fled in another direction. The toad sage, enduring whole, body agony, glared venomously at Fang Chen. "Marquis champion, you despicable human ant. This seat will remember you." With that, his form flickered, about to dissolve into a shadow and flee. Fang Chen's true body abruptly materialized, his eyes shooting icy light, trying to leave. As a lackey of the Asura Holy Sun, killing 10,000 of them wouldn't yield a single innocent soul. These people only commit the most heinous, heaven-defying, inhuman atrocities. With a mere thought, the profound heaven battle armor instantly enveloped his entire body. Then he ruthlessly activated the heart of myriad Earths, his figure flashing to appear tens of thousands of miles away, directly intercepting the Toad Sage's escape route and slamming a punch fiercely into the space between heaven and earth. A deafening boom echoed as the void violently shook, and the fleeing Toad Sage was forcefully blasted out of his escape by that colossal force. He couldn't even flee. Sensing around, he realized the other two sages hadn't caught up yet, and couldn't help but laugh in extreme fury. "You refuse the path to heaven, and insist on barging into hell with no door. Then this seat will grant your wish." If Fang Chen had ambushed him with invisibility, he would have found it extremely troublesome, but this head on interception. That is simply courting death. The colossal toad phantom suddenly manifested, shooting out its lightning, fast tongue at Fang Chen, layers of law, energy flickering and undulating. Even a demoness sovereign as mighty as Princess Yuyan couldn't dodge it, let alone Fang Chen. With a sickening squelch, he was instantly entangled tightly by the long tongue. Then, like a streak of light, he was dragged toward the toad's gaping maw. The toad sage sneered, "Overestimating yourself, die." His true body viciously threw a punch at the bound Fang Chen.
Thud.
A deafening, muffled impact followed, but it wasn't Fang Chen who collapsed. The toad sage himself was numbed and stiffened by the terrifying rebound force. His full, powered strike couldn't even budge that black battle armor one bit. "My turn," a voice of utmost chill suddenly rang out. It was Fang Chen, who had seized that moment of paralysis to produce a purple bell. With a flash of light, a gigantic iron staff, entirely golden and carved with intricate patterns, shot out from within. Fang Chen clamped his hands tightly around the immense staff. Back when he only had a transformation god body, he had tried and couldn't even grip it. Now, with this body that had just stepped into the sage realm, he could barely lift it. Even swinging it at all was extremely difficult. But this was already enough. The Toad Sage instantly understood Fang Chen's intention. He had let himself be captured precisely to create this point-blank killing blow opportunity. Sensing the terrifying, extraordinary aura emanating from the staff, he decisively commanded the Toad Phantom's tongue to fling Fang Chen away. But his body was still somewhat paralyzed, and his hand, seal speed lagged a beat. Fang Chen was already holding the massive staff, tilting it at a slight angle and bringing it crashing down toward his Dao body. In truth, Fang Chen merely released his strength, letting the staff's own immense weight fall. A muffled boom echoed as the iron staff slammed heavily onto the Toad Sage's shoulder. The instant it touched, his shoulder burst like tofu residue, spraying bone and flesh everywhere. Before the Toad Sage could even register the pain, he shrieked in horror, "What is this?" The answer was the iron staff's merciless, uninterrupted descent. The staff raked across his chest, hips, thighs, down to his feet. Wherever it passed, those body parts exploded in succession without a hint of resistance. In mere moments, half of the Toad Sage's body was crushed into a thick cloud of bloody mist. A soul mass shot out from within at top speed, plunging headlong into the void, desperate to escape. But before it could flee, a soul needle had already locked onto it. The Toad Sage's soul was seized with utter terror. He whipped around in fright. He saw Fang Chen with a white bone tube in his mouth, coldly aiming at him. The Toad Sage shrieked shrilly, "No, spare my life, and I'll impart all my poison arts to you." The answer was Fang Chen's icy expulsion of breath. A frigid gleam flashed as the soul needle pierced straight through his soul. The Toad Sage's soul shuddered violently, then shattered into fragments. His face etched with unwillingness and hatred, he rasped, "My master will avenge me. He will not let you go." Fang Chen spoke coldly. Your master is the Asura Holy Sun, isn't he? I knocked his cultivation from the Sage Realm back down to Transformation God. I can just as well annihilate him, body and soul, from Transformation God. Go down and wait for him. The Toad Sage's mouth gaped in disbelief. His master had actually been defeated by this man before him. He would never get an answer. In despair, he dissolved into motes of soul light drifting away. Then, a grand spiritual rain poured down from the heavens, nourishing this ancient land. Fang Chen's entire body relaxed. This was, in the truest sense, the first complete one calamity expert he had slain alone. Though it involved some clever tricks, it was still a milestone. He retracted the profound heaven battle armor, retrieved the giant iron staff that was sinking into the ground, and quickly inventoried the spoils. The Toad Sage had only half a body left, but even waste could be turned into treasure. Fang Chen didn't miss a single drop of the sage blood within him. This blood was fresh. Perhaps it could be refined into sacred blood of the alien race. Additionally, the Toad Sage storage device had fortunately escaped the staff's destruction. Unfortunately, he didn't know the incantation, so he could only wait to meet Kiki and ask her to forcibly unlock it. Speaking of which, he and Kiki had an agreement to exchange laws. That greedy profiteer hadn't forgotten, right? Just then, two figures arrived through the air in quick succession. It was Princess Yuyan and Beiyan Sage. Looking at the sky, feeling spiritual rain, Beiyan Sage was momentarily stunned, but quickly adjusted. It wasn't Fang Chen's first time killing a sage, nothing strange. Princess Yuyan, however, stared wide-eyed, fixedly at Fang Chen. You killed him. If not for witnessing it herself, anyone telling her that a 4 decline of celestial being cultivator could solo kill a 1 calamity sage would have been met with scoffing disbelief. Fang Chen smiled faintly and said, Your uncle here has plenty of skills. Princess Yuyan flared up, her fine brows knitting. I warn you one more time, don't talk nonsense. She would absolutely never acknowledge Fang Chen as her uncle. Absolutely not. Fang Chen chuckled. Let's go, let's go. Time to harvest the Blood River ghost flower. That was the main objective of this trip. Princess Yuyan gave a light snort and shot into the airway. Beiyan Sage couldn't help but laugh. He took out the poison body and demonic sword Fang Chen had left on the battlefield during the fierce fight, saying, Fellow Taoist Fang's physique has reached great completion. Your strength has climbed another level. If you can break through the 5 decline of celestial being, you'll immediately step into the sage realm. What other transformation god cultivators lack most when entering sagehood is insufficient merit. But does Fang Chen lack merit? Just the merit from the Middle Earth alone is immeasurable. Not to mention saving the entire Netherworld will surely bestow merit as well. Hearing this, a trace of anticipation flickered in Fang Chen's eyes, followed by a hint of hidden worry. The ancestral Tao admits no sages. Does this iron law truly exist? Suppressing the strange feeling in his heart, he cupped his fists and said, Many thanks for your help, fellow Taoist Bai Yan. What are your plans from now on? He did not say it explicitly, but Sage Bai Yan understood his meaning. Strictly speaking, by previously supporting Fang Chen, Sage Bai Yan had already placed himself in opposition to the Ice Realm. If he returned to the Ice Realm, even if they were willing to accept him, they would treat him as an outsider in the future, always wary. His days would not be easy. He might as well return to the Middle Land. Sage Bai Yan understood immediately and said without hesitation, I was born in the Ice Realm, and I should die in the Ice Realm. The dark tide is approaching. I wish to use my worn body to protect the people of the Ice Realm a while longer. As for how those people treat me, it no longer matters. As long as my conscience is clear, it is enough. Fang Chen sighed inwardly. Every world had its admirable people. He did not try to persuade him, but took out 5 medium-sized merit divine pearls and said, I have nothing else to give. These 5 merit divine pearls are for you. Sage Bai Yan was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor and hastily refused. No, how could I possibly accept such a thing? This merit was earned by Fang Chen for helping the Ice Realm expel the ancient dark creatures. Among so many sages in their Ice Realm, none had ever obtained so much merit. Fang Chen said no more, pressing the divine pearls into his hand. Take them. I hope you can protect more of the Ice Realm's living beings. Sage Bai Yan's beard trembled slightly, and his voice quavered as he said with emotion, Marquis Champion, for your great kindness, I thank you on behalf of all beings in the Ice Ark. Eom, may the Middle Land endure the dark tide, Fang Chen said, and the Ice Realm as well. Sage Bai Yan cupped his fist solemnly and said, then I take my leave. Under Fang Chen's watchful gaze, Sage Bai Yan tore through the world barrier and departed. His eyes showed contemplation. The dark tide, what exactly is it? He had heard these 4 words countless times, but no one had ever explained them. He would ask his newly acknowledged elder sister later. As a great sage, she might know something. He grasped the myriad earth heart, and with a thought, appeared near the blood spring. Princess Yuyan was already waiting there. Seeing Fang Chen arrive, she said expressionlessly, if there is no ambush, I will activate the Grand Array. Fang Chen immediately activated his 4th domain perception, and after confirming no one was around, nodded. With no further concerns, Princess Yuyan formed hand seals and chanted an incantation, slowly opening the Grand Array. A soaring surge of spiritual energy burst forth, billowing their clothes. Princess Yuyan tidied her fluttering silk ribbons, and out of the corner of her eye glanced at Fang Chen, a strange glint flashing in her eyes. Pick it yourself. Fang Chen flew down into the valley and approached the Blood River Ghost Flower. Sensing the unique power contained within the flower, he could not conceal his delight and instinctively wanted to pick it. However, looking at the sinister ghostly visage of the Blood River Ghost Flower, a sudden wariness arose in his heart. Moreover, Princess Yuyan had not offered the slightest warning and had told him to pick it himself, further confirming his suspicion. With a shift of his gaze, he retreated back to Princess Yuyan's side. Princess Yuyan was greatly disappointed and frowned, asking, why did you come back? Fang Chen said, I want to use a safer method. He took out the void fishhook and from behind the Grand Array cast a line toward the Blood River Ghost Flower. Under Princess Yuyan's puzzled gaze, the golden fishhook caught the Blood River Ghost Flower and uprooted it entirely. In the next instant, with a flicker of void, the Blood River Ghost Flower teleported right before them. The ghostly face, now separated from the Blood River, suddenly seemed to come alive, opening its mouth and spraying a large amount of viscous blood. Princess Yuyan's pupils constricted, and her figure blurred as she attempted to flee. But her shoulder was suddenly pressed down by Fang Chen. Fang Chen pulled her tightly in front of him as a shield, shouting, Don't be afraid, niece. Uncle will save you. With a rapid series of splattering sounds, the large mass of viscous blood sprayed all over Princess Yuyan, drenching her from head to toe. A cool and noble fox fairy was transformed into a mud-covered figure in the blink of an eye. The damage was not great, but the humiliation was somewhat high. Fang Chen emerged unscathed from behind her, reached out and tugged at the sticky fluid clinging tightly to her dress, tutting, oh dear, how could you be so careless? Let Uncle help you. Unexpectedly, with a strong pull, the sticky fluid tore off a corner of her white dress, revealing flawless jade-like skin. This sticky fluid was comparable to the misty demon fluid, extremely adhesive. Once it adhered, it was extremely difficult to peel off. Princess Yuyan slowly turned her head, her eyes beneath the goo, seeming to spit fire. Her 2 jade-like hands clenched into fists, producing cracking sounds. She ground her teeth and spat Fang Chen. She had intended to tease Fang Chen, but ended up being teased by him instead. Fang Chen coughed dryly. Ah, well, Uncle just remembered that the sew at home is pregnant. I'll be leaving first. As soon as the words left his mouth, he grabbed the void fishing rod and the Blood River Ghost Flower and hastily fled. Behind him, Princess Yuyan's hysterical shriek erupted. Stop right there. Fang Chen chuckled to himself, thinking, with that tiny bit of cunning, she dared to play with him. Activating the myriad earth heart several times, he quietly returned to Green Hill. By now, the woman in green and the Fox clan, Yao Venerables, had already returned ahead of him. The Yao Venerables could not hide their excitement, chattering endlessly among themselves. One Yao Venerable exclaimed excitedly, not only will the divine tree not fall in a month, but it has burst forth with renewed vitality. Another chimed in with a smile, has the ancient hidden peril of our Netherworld realm been resolved just like that? Another Yao Venerable sighed with deep emotion, why does it feel like a dream? Even the woman in green, a great sage herself, had cast aside her usual worried expression, silently smiling as she gazed upon these clansmen who had regained their radiance. The massive stone that had weighed on her chest for 1,000 years was suddenly lifted, bringing her a sense of relief she had never known. At that moment, sensing Fang Chen's return, her crystalline eyes sparkled with resplendent light. Overjoyed, she personally flew out of the Grand Array to welcome him. The woman in green shouted with gratitude all over her face, little brother Fan, the divine tree has been saved and has regained its vitality. Your coming to the Netherworld realm must be the favor of the god of fate. Fang Chen smiled.
His trip this time was under the arrangement of the drunken Grand Libationer.
Wait. He couldn't help but grow suspicious.
It just so happened that the Netherworld realm's divine tree was about to collapse, and he had the breathing soil that could save it. And the Grand Libationer had specifically arranged for him to come to this realm. Rather than the arrangement of the god of fate, it was more like the deliberate calculation of the Grand Libationers. So, they are setting a trap for him, huh? However, Fang Chen had also prepared a generous gift for the mourning Grand Libationer.
When the time comes, we'll see who is more miserable.
Coming back to his senses, he laughed heartily. Sister, don't be hasty. The god of fate has even greater plans in store. I guarantee you'll be together with the Grand Libationer of the Primal Chaos Prefecture. The joy on the woman in green's face grew even more intense.
Wouldn't this be a double blessing?
The more she looked at Fang Chen, the more she liked him. She affectionately took his hand and said, Come, come, little brother Fan, whatever you want, just tell your sister. Whatever the Netherworld realm has, your sister will give you all. What it doesn't have, I'll buy, I'll steal, and I'll definitely get it for you.
As Fang Chen followed her into Green Hill, the smile on his face gradually faded. The divine tree had been saved, but the hidden danger still remained.
Fang Chen gently pressed her hand, his expression turning extremely serious. Sister, don't be hasty. I must tell you about a person who poses a great threat. The woman in green initially did not care too much. Fang Chen was only at the divine transformation realm. How great could a threat be that he encountered?
She waved her jade hand, producing a table, chairs, and various spirit fruits out of thin air, and said casually, Let's rest and talk at the same time.
However, as Fang Chen recounted in detail how the Asura Holy Sun had hidden in the Middle Land for 800 years, orchestrating a great war between two worlds to harvest merry tea and a shocking scheme. The light-hearted expression on the woman in green's face gradually vanished, eventually replaced by profound gravity.
She drew in a slight breath of cold air. Such a deep scheme.
If not for the foresight of your Cloud Wilderness ancient saint and you seizing the prison, Calming Soul Sutra, he might have already succeeded. Had the Asura Holy Sun succeeded, the result would have been the Middle Land plunged into misery and the realm's destruction. Even with her experience, her spine went cold upon hearing this. How could this person be described merely as posing a great threat? What made her even more restless was that the Asura Holy Sun was currently in the Netherworld realm. The collapse of the divine tree was all his doing. The woman in green asked in a grave voice, what exactly does he want by toppling the divine tree? A deep sense of unease made her heart tremble with anxiety. Fang Chen lightly tapped the table with his fingers, his voice low. Apart from destroying the sacred tree, he also ordered his subordinates to scatter seeds containing strange insects across your netherworld. That is another great hidden danger. The blue-robed woman frowned. Seeds containing insects. What do they look like? Fang Chen raised his hand and roughly traced its shape in the air. With just one glance, the blue-robed woman abruptly stood up, her voice trembling with shock. The corpse myriad goo of the great Kayan Divine Empire era. Fang Chen's brows instantly furrowed. Just from the name, it was clearly something sinister. Without another word, the blue-robed woman's figure flickered and vanished in a teleport. She unleashed her formidable spiritual sense, sweeping across the entire land. Not long after, she returned clutching a seed, as if facing a mortal enemy, her voice laced with deep lingering fear. It truly is the corpse myriad goo. Immediately, she gave a stern order, mobilize all void-returning, nascent soul, and core formation realm martial artists in the Netherworld. Dig up every inch of the Undying Mountain and all islands. You must find every last corpse myriad goo. Not a single one is to be missed. The Fox Clan Demon Venerable's expressions suddenly turned grave. Even core formation experts were to be summoned. This amounted to mobilizing over half of the Netherworld's martial artists. Such a grand mobilization had never occurred in the Netherworld. Fang Chen couldn't help but ask, Sister, what exactly is the corpse myriad goo? The blue-robed woman tightly gripped the seed, her tone heavy. During the Great Kayan Divine Empire era, there was a madman who sought to create a forbidden army. This army possessed destructive power, surpassing that of the Divine Empire, capable of easily annihilating the Great Kayan Divine Empire and wiping out all races of heaven and earth. Fang Chen listened, utterly stunned. The Great Kayan Divine Empire was already an existence of supreme might beyond his imagination. Yet this forbidden army could destroy it with ease.
The blue-robed woman continued. This army originated from 4 ominous seeds of unknown origin. The corpse myriad goo is one of them. She gazed at the seed in her palm, recalling the fragmentary history she knew. These insects parasitize a world, take root, and eventually give birth to demonic insects that are all things. They are ferociously ruthless. Any living creature they encounter is consumed without a trace, until the entire world is eaten clean. Fang Chen's heart quaked violently. These unremarkable insects could devour every living being in an entire world. He recalled that earlier, the undeveloped insect inside the seed had managed to bite his sage body and cause sharp pain. If it were fully hatched, that devouring power would be unimaginable. And once their numbers reached a certain level, killing them all would be impossible. Even sages would be powerless. One could only watch helplessly as the densely packed corpse, myriad goo gnawed every living being away. Fang Chen, utterly baffled, asked, the great Cayenne divine empire had already unified all races and ruled as the master of heaven and earth. Why would they create such a forbidden army? Wasn't that courting self-destruction? The blue-robed woman shook her head, sighing, I don't understand either. Unfortunately, the history of the great Cayenne era is held by the 4 great worlds and the divine capital. Only there can one find answers. I only learned of a fragmentary record concerning the Forbidden Army from an incomplete text. She speculated the Forbidden Army must have been meant to face an enemy capable of threatening the Divine Empire. Otherwise, they wouldn't have so madly created such a self-destructive horror. Fang Chen was shocked beyond words. The Great Cayenne Divine Empire actually had an enemy. If so, what kind of terrifying existence could that be? Looking at the seed before him, he couldn't help asking, then, was the Great Cayenne Divine Empire destroyed by the backlash of that forbidden army? The fall of the Great Cayenne Divine Empire remains an unsolved mystery to this day. But the blue-robed woman firmly shook her head. No, the forbidden army was never fully assembled. They only formed 3 of the ominous seeds. The corpse myriad goo was still in cultivation, with a massive flaw unresolved, when the Great Cayenne Divine Empire suddenly perished. The corpse myriad goo was merely a failed product. A mere failed product already possessed such terrifying destructive power. How horrific must the other 3 ominous seeds be? The blue-robed woman produced a jade box, carefully placing the seed inside. Her eyes gleamed with intense light. I will completely purge and destroy all the other corpse myriad goo. I'll keep this one to study, to see if we can find its weakness and a way to counter it, just in case. The Asura Holy Sun's exact number of insects released into the Netherworld remains unknown. They might not be able to purge them all. If any slip through, having a method to counter them would undoubtedly be safer. Fang Chen deeply agreed, nodding. If you need my help, sister, do not hesitate to ask. The blue-robed woman showed gratitude, sighing lightly. I don't know how to thank you enough. You've helped our Netherworld immensely. First repairing the sacred tree, saving countless lives from calamity, then eliminating the hidden threat of the corpse myriad goo. No reward seemed sufficient. Fang Chen said solemnly, I have a premonition that the Asura Holy Sun will become the common enemy of all the myriad worlds. Helping you, sister, is helping ourselves. The blue-robed woman was slightly taken aback. Common enemy. Soon she grasped Fang Chen's concern and said gravely, you mean he might have released the corpse myriad goo in other worlds as well? Fang Chen nodded deeply. From what I know of him, he always prepares a backup. He would never stake everything on your Netherworld alone. If he fails here, he'll surely implement his plan elsewhere. The blue-robed woman's eyes flashed with killing intent, and she said coldly, then I'll flush him out now and eliminate this threat once and for all. Fang Chen shook his head, his expression heavy. Too late. He learned his lesson after suffering defeat at my hands last time. He won't easily appear openly again. He must be directing from the shadows. With this plan's failure, he's likely already left the Netherworld for the next location. As for where, that's unknown. He furrowed his brows, a hidden worry in his heart. Could the Asura Holy Sun have obtained the soul-calming scripture of suppressing hells, intending to annihilate the beings of a world and then deliver their souls? The blue-robed woman's gaze grew thoughtful as she slowly said, I think I know where his next target is. Fang Chen was startled and blurted out, What? How would you know, sister? A thoughtful glint passed through the blue-robed woman's beautiful eyes as she said slowly, The Asura Holy Sun chose our Netherworld as the first target for one reason. We have a sea of blood. Blood water can accelerate the incubation of the corpse myriad goo, bringing them out early. His attack on the sacred tree was to make it sink into the sea of blood, thereby nourishing the corpse myriad goo buried in the earth. Fang Chen suddenly understood. So that was why the Asura Holy Sun destroyed the sacred tree.
The blue-robed woman continued. Among the myriad worlds besides our Netherworld, there is another world with seas of blood like ours. That is the Black Abyss realm.
It's a mid-sized world. In the Great Kayan era, our Netherworld was part of the Black Abyss realm. When the Great Kayan Empire shattered, our Netherworld separated. Their sea of blood is far vaster than ours. However, it has far more powerful experts, so the Asura Holy Sun didn't dare to target that world first.
The Black Abyss realm. Fang Chen took out the Void Complete map, and after a search found that this world was surprisingly near the Martial Repository.
He made a mental note of the Black Abyss realm.
The blue-robed woman smiled gently, reassuring him, "Little brother, don't worry. I'll have you go to the Black Abyss realm to warn them to take precautions. Coincidentally, Yuyan has a matter to attend to there."
That would be best.
Fang Chen's words carried little weight. The Black Abyss realm might not take him seriously. But since the Netherworld and Black Abyss realm share the same origin, their words would be more persuasive.
A crisp asterisk crack asterisk sound rang out as the grand formation suddenly opened. A figure cloaked in chilling cold burst into the formation.
9 foxtails whipped fiercely toward Fang Chen.
The blue-robed woman swept her gaze over and shouted sternly, "Yuyan, have you no shame?" The attacking Princess Yuyan was sent flying backward, slamming into the formation.
The dark red viscous fluid on her body had been completely removed, including from her face.
Given its adhesive nature, it could only be removed by self-mutilation of the skin.
Thus, Princess Yuyan had likely endured some hardship.
Princess Yuyan glared icily at Fang Chen, grinding her silver teeth audibly, and spat hatefully. "Mother, do you know what he did?"
The azure-robed woman's face darkened, and she reprimanded sternly, "What could your uncle possibly do to you?" Princess Yuyan opened her mouth, but the words on the tip of her tongue were swallowed back down. It was she who had first sought to toy with Fang Chen with ill intentions, only to be outwitted and humiliated in return. If she spoke out, her mother would only punish her all the more severely.
Fang Chen, ever one to relish chaos, grinned and said, "Yuyan, why have you gone mute? Don't hold back your grievances now." Princess Yuyan trembled with fury, grinding out 4 words through clenched teeth, the uttermost shamelessness.
"Silence!" The azure-robed woman's face darkened, and she reproached with authority, "You are too insolent.
Do you have even a shred of gratitude for the immense contributions your uncle has made to the Netherworld realm?"
She knew her daughter well, and she also knew Fang Chen's character.
A man who, expecting no reward, gave the precious breath, soil to a world he'd only met once, saving countless lives. Would he bully Yuyan without cause?
Yuyan, by nature cold and proud, harbored deep resentment towards her uncle Fang Chen. Most likely, Yuyan provoked Fang Chen and earned his discipline.
Seeing this, Fang Chen quickly stepped in to smooth things over. "Sister, Yuyan and I were just playing chase. She is a truly admirable girl. Earlier, we encountered 3 sage realm subordinates of an Asura Holy Sun. Yuyan held off all 3 by herself to buy you time to repair the divine tree, and nearly sacrificed her life. Don't blame her further."
Surprised, the azure-robed woman felt much of her anger subside. But she still could not forgive Yuyan's insolence. She raised her hand and slashed toward Yuyan, and Yuyan let out a pained grunt. The tip of Yuyan's 9th foxtail was cut off. Then the bloody tail tip flew into the azure-robed woman's hand, transforming into a shimmering little fox. The azure-robed woman raised her palm and sent it into Fang Chen's mind. Instantly, Fang Chen felt an additional soul, a little fox within his own soul.
Fang Chen was stunned and asked, puzzled, "Sister, what is this for?"
The azure-robed woman said casually, "This is a strand of Yuyan's split soul. If she ever speaks rudely to you again, just chant the incantation, and she will learn how to address you properly."
So it was a restrictive spell placed upon Yuyan, like the tightening curse.
Princess Yuyan turned ashen with shock and shrieked, "Mother, have you gone mad, letting a strange man control me? What if he, to me?" But as the azure-robed woman shot her a fierce glare, she hurriedly swallowed the words on the tip of her tongue.
But her heart was full of indignation.
"Mother trusts this glib, smooth, talking fellow far too much. No matter if he is the Netherworld realm's benefactor, he is still a young man around her own age.
If he harbored ill intentions toward her, with her soul under his control, she would be utterly powerless to resist." Fang Chen also felt it was improper and quickly said, "Sister, this is too much. We were really just playing around."
He thought to himself, "If I had known the consequences would be this severe, I would not have teased Yuyan."
The azure-robed woman's beautiful eyes turned to Fang Chen, and a soft sigh drifted into his mind. Disciplining her is only secondary. The main purpose is to leave her a way out. The dark tide may erupt at any moment, and chaos is rising in all the myriad worlds. If something unforeseen happens to Yuyan, she will need a remnant soul to possess a body and be reborn. Fang Chen was astonished and transmitted through divine sense. Sister, you are in the three calamities realm yourself. Wouldn't it be more suitable to keep the split soul with you? The azure-robed woman transmitted gravely. I don't even know how long I myself can live. Once heaven and earth descend into chaos, we realm lords will be the first to be drawn into war, our lives and deaths beyond our control. You, on the other hand, have a better chance of surviving. In the worst case, you can entrust it to that wicked man and ask him to safeguard my daughter's soul. Fang Chen was stunned. The azure-robed woman must have sensed some ominous signs and was planning to entrust her daughter to him. After a brief thought, he transmitted, "Very well, I will safeguard it for now. If I feel my end is near, I will seek help from the Grand Libationer." The azure-robed woman nodded gratefully, lightly. The two ended their conversation, having smoothly completed the entrustment of Princess Yuyan. The azure-robed woman suddenly shifted the topic and smiled warmly. "Brother Fan, do you have any doubts in your cultivation? Let me offer some guidance first, to see if I can help you quickly achieve a sudden insight into the fifth domain." Fang Chen's eyes lit up, but then he said, "Enlightenment can wait a while. I have two long, perplexing questions I wish to seek your guidance on, sister." Rarely did he encounter such a broad-minded, amiable great sage of the three calamities realm. He had to seize the moment to ask. The azure-robed woman pulled Fang Chen back to his seat and said with exceeding willingness, "Brother Fan, please ask." Fang Chen composed his expression and asked solemnly, "Sister, what exactly is the dark tide? Why is it said that it will destroy the myriad worlds? Even those ancient dark beings fear its arrival." Hearing this question, the smile instantly vanished from the azure-robed woman's face, replaced by solemnity. After hesitating for a long moment, she took a slight breath to calm her heavy heart and asked, "Before I answer, let me ask you a question first. Do you know how the ancient dark beings came into existence?" Fang Chen showed a puzzled expression. Could the dark tide be connected to the ancient dark beings? He fell into deep thought. Before the ancient giants invaded, three theories had once circulated in the middle continent. One said they were drawn here 10,000 years ago when the ancient sage of the cloud wastes created the middle continent. Another held that they invaded when the heavenly realm was torn asunder. Yet another claimed that when the Netherworld realm attacked and occupied the heavenly realm, the defeated heavenly powerhouses unleashed a curse of vengeance that brought them forth. But as Fang Chen gained more understanding of the myriad worlds, he knew there were not only ancient giants, but also ancient blood demons and the most dangerous ancient death spirits. And he knew that the myriad worlds all faced threats from the ancient dark beings, not just the middle continent alone. Therefore, the true origin of the ancient giants remained an unsolved mystery to this very day. Fang Chen shook his head and asked thoughtfully, could it be that those ancient dark beings are connected to the dark tide? He mused inwardly that both their names bore the word darkness. At that thought, Fang Chen's mind naturally began to deduce along this line of reasoning. The azure-robed woman quietly gazed at the projected complete map of the void that floated in midair. With a light hook of her slender finger, a thread of dark red blood suddenly seeped up from the ground. She pointed with a flick of her finger and said gravely, "Watch closely." The thread of blood immediately dropped onto the position of the divine capital. Immediately, that speck of dark red surged outward like a raging tide, rolling madly in all directions. Everywhere it passed, the numerous living worlds represented on the map were all stained and permeated by this ominous blood color. At first, Fang Chen did not grasp the profound meaning, merely staring blankly. But in a flash, a thunderbolt seemed to explode in his mind, and he suddenly realized. His eyes widened, and he blurted out in disbelief, "You mean, those ancient dark beings actually descended into the myriad worlds from the divine capital through such a tide?" The azure-robed woman gave a slight nod and said in a low voice, "To be precise, they come from above the divine capital, from a hidden, unknown world." Astonishment surged even greater in Fang Chen's heart. Could it be that above this complete map of the void, there existed a hidden world not displayed? Wait. In a flash of lightning in his mind, he abruptly recalled a place that absolutely could not be found on the void map. Fang Chen's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard with difficulty, and he asked in a trembling voice, "That hidden world you speak of, does it have a name, called the source of all evil?" A flicker of surprise passed through the azure-robed woman's eyes as she glanced sidelong at him. So you know of that place as well. However, it has many names. Source of all evil is merely one of them. Some call it the Great Desolation of Time and Space. Others name it the Land of Final Return. At this point, she paused slightly, a deep look of dread in her eyes, and I call it the Eye of Darkness.
Because all dark beings pour forth from this hidden world.
The calamities and sorrows of the myriad worlds over these 10,000 years all originate from there.
Fang Chen stood rooted to the spot, taking a full long moment before he could barely digest this vast and weighty information.
That mystery of the ancient giant's origin, which had troubled him for so long, was finally answered today.
It seems that the first ancient heart sage who determined the source of all evil to be the root of suffering in the Central Plains, indeed, discovered the true origin of the ancient giants.
Unfortunately, no one was willing to believe him at the time. Only after the Great War ended did the sages of the Central Plains gradually come to understand, eventually departing one after another for the source of all evil. After a moment of silence, Fang Chen spoke again, his expression solemn. By the dark tide you speak of, do you mean it will once again unleash a similar dark surge, sending more ancient giants here? If that is so, the myriad realms of the heavens will surely face another invasion of the ancient dark beings. To call it a cataclysm for all the heavens would not be an exaggeration. However, if it were only that, it would hardly drive one to such despair, would it? Over these 10,000 years, which of the worlds that have survived to this day has not endured multiple invasions of the ancient dark beings? The woman in the cyan robe said nothing more, raising her finger once again to point at the grand void chart. With a gentle press of her fingertip, a sudden change occurred. On the void chart, the blood hue that had previously spread and permeated suddenly began receding like a tide, madly shrinking back towards the divine capital. After doing this, she said solemnly, a tide, just as there is a rising tide, so must there be a receding tide. The wave 10,000 years ago was a rising tide, which delivered the ancient dark beings to the myriad realms. And now 10,000 years later is the receding tide, the waters will carry those ancient dark beings back to the source of all evil. This rising and falling, that is the complete dark tide. Upon hearing this, Fang Chen's mind was suddenly enlightened, and he was greatly awakened. No wonder this great cataclysm of heaven and earth has been named the dark tide. So that's how it is. His mind became crystal clear in an instant, and the heavy mists that once shrouded it were suddenly dispersed for the most part. However, at this moment, the woman in the cyan robe gradually furrowed her brow, yet even I cannot understand where the danger of the receding tide lies. Logically, the current carrying the ancient dark beings back should be a tremendously good thing for our myriad realms. But whether it is the divine capital or the old monsters of the four great realms, they all deem this to be an epic catastrophe. They say that once it begins, even the four great realms might not escape unscathed. As for the rest of the small and medium worlds, they will be utterly reduced to ashes. Fang Chen's brow furrowed tightly upon hearing this. So even she does not know the true danger of the receding tide. However, to have learned so many great secrets of heaven and earth today, this trip has truly been worthwhile. He cupped his fists sincerely and said with gratitude, "Thank you, sister, for clearing my doubts." The woman in the cyan robe showed a trace of shame. My knowledge is also extremely limited. If you wish to truly understand the great secrets of the universe, you must seek instruction from the four great worlds. All right, I have answered your questions. Now, let me help you comprehend the fifth domain. Strive to attain the rank of great sovereign here in my nether realm. Fang Chen's eyes once again filled with deep gratitude. With the aid of a top-tier sage, his path of comprehension would undoubtedly be much smoother. The woman in the cyan robe asked, "What great Tao are you cultivating? First, demonstrate it for me." Complying, Fang Chen displayed his four domains one by one. Imperfection brings annihilation once deficient, then complete flaws lead to wholeness. Seek flaws and fill them. Upon seeing the first domain, the woman in the cyan robe couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "How can your domain be so domineering?" Beside her, Princess Yuyun was also secretly astonished. If not perfect, it would rather destroy. Isn't that far too extreme? When they beheld the second domain, mother and daughter silently marveled at its mysteriousness. This second domain could actually restore all things, though not as domineering as the first. It was truly heaven, defying. Then the third and fourth domains were revealed, leaving them even more speechless with admiration. The woman in the cyan robe asked in amazement, "Little brother Fan, what path are you truly cultivating? Why is every one of your domains so extraordinary?" Princess Yuyan also cast a similarly curious gaze. Generally speaking, a path of deity transformation usually only nurtures one exceptionally powerful domain, and the remaining 4 are typically secondary domains formed around the first. Yet Fang Chen's 4 domains were all immensely powerful, with no distinction between primary and secondary. What kind of deity transformation path can accommodate so many powerful domains at once? Moreover, Princess Yuyan had finally realized something. From beginning to end, Fang Chen had never revealed his divine halo. It seemed he had been deliberately concealing it. If it were just an ordinary divine halo, why hide it so furtively? Fang Chen merely smiled faintly and said casually, "It's just a minor path not worth mentioning. I wouldn't want to embarrass myself before you, sister." Seeing his reluctance to elaborate, the woman in the cyan robe did not press further, though a wry smile appeared on her face. "Your path is so unique. I fear my insights will not be of much help to you." Saying this, she pressed her finger to her forehead for a long while before condensing countless insights into a speck of light, the size of a broad bean. Fang Chen accepted it with heartfelt gratitude and said, "Thank you, sister." He sent the insight light into his forehead, immediately closed his eyes, and began to silently meditate. Half a day later, using internal observation, Fang Chen saw that on the steps of the 5th altar, he had only ascended 3 steps. And most of those insights came from the inspiration he felt when he personally witnessed the divine tree prolong its fading life through other means. He slowly opened his eyes and saw the woman in the cyan robe, looking ashamed. Fang Chen quickly comforted her. "Sister, you have already helped me tremendously. In this world, how many are willing to give away their life's insights so freely? It is my own lack of experience, and I am missing a profound life realization that could allow me to break through." The woman in the cyan robe, feeling she owed Fang Chen too much and wanting to make amends, suggested, "Then stay here in my nether realm. After I resolve the hidden dangers of the nether realm, I will accompany you on a journey of adventure." Fang Chen was grateful, but he shook his head and politely declined. "Sister, you need not worry for me. Some roads I must ultimately walk myself. Besides, I must soon depart for the next world that needs a true steel. I truly cannot afford any more delays." Upon hearing this, the woman in the cyan robe asked with concern, "Which world do you intend to go to?" Fang Chen raised his eyes to the grand void chart, locking his gaze on one of the 9 closest worlds, and said, "The Earth Realm. If memory serves, the Earth Realm is a world where cultivation primarily revolves around the Earth element. The Earth source, which is hard to find in other worlds, should be quite abundant there, right?" His Voidflow 5 forces had so far only successfully cultivated the Voidflow Thunder Force and Fire Force. It was precisely the lack of the Earth source that made the Voidflow Earth Force so difficult to achieve. Going to the Earth Realm this time presented a perfect opportunity to request some Earth source. "You are going to the Earth Realm." The woman in the cyan robe's brows instantly knitted deeply. Even Princess Yuyan cast a disdainful look, sizing Fang Chen up and down. Fang Chen was taken aback and asked, puzzled, "Is there something wrong with the Earth Realm?" The woman in the cyan robe frowned and asked, "Must you go to the Earth Realm?" Fang Chen answered without hesitation, firmly, "I absolutely must go." The woman in the cyan robe pondered for a moment, then raised her hand, plucking a strand of her own hair, which instantly transformed into a tuft of silvery, white fox fur. "If you must go, then place this hair of mine against your chest, wearing it close to your body, lest you fall into the Earth Realm and be unable to extricate yourself." Fang Chen accepted as instructed and solemnly placed the fox fur into his robes close to his chest. Even so, the worry in the woman's brow remained undiminished. The Earth Realm was born from the Sin Realm and was once a part of it. It is a place where fish and dragons mingle, utterly chaotic, a land of turmoil second only to the Sin Realm. Addictive gambling, beguiling courtesans, mine, numbing toxic fruits, truly everything that one could imagine is there. If your mental fortitude is not strong enough, you could easily fall into depravity and never escape. Upon hearing this, Fang Chen was momentarily speechless, so this was what she was worried about. What was there to worry about? He, Fang Chen, had weathered countless storms and tempests. Could he possibly stumble over such a trivial matter? Fang Chen said solemnly with a smile, "Sister, rest assured, I, Fang Chen, am sworn enemies with poison and gambling." The green-robed woman was slightly taken aback, raised her eyebrows, and asked in exasperation, "What about yellow? Why did you leave that out?" Fang Chen, completely unfazed, immediately corrected himself. "I, Huang Fan, am sworn enemies with poison and gambling." The green-robed woman and Princess Yuyan stood frozen, as if turned to stone. It's over, now Fang Chen is really going to be completely humiliated on the Earth aspect. At that moment, the rebellious imp suddenly stuck its head out of the spatial mirror and shouted loudly, "Poison, the untied, rug red line cannot be trampled." Fang Chen reached out and patted its head, sighing, "So even a beast understands this truth, while some people are worse than beasts. All right, sister, I should be going." The green-robed woman snapped out of it and quickly called, "Wait, you saved the Netherworld realm, how can we let you leave empty-handed?" She slowly closed her eyes and communicated with the sages of the Netherworld realm through her divine sense. Moments later, above the sky canopy, suddenly rosy clouds blotted out the sun. 10 enormous, golden, radiant merit glories descended, each like a small mountain. Princess Yuyan couldn't help but exclaim, "Ah, how can there be so many?" The green-robed woman was also shocked and murmured, "So many. Even during the ancient giant battles, the combined merit of all in our Netherworld realm was not as much as this." She grew more and more excited, given to someone at the Two Tribulation realm. There's definitely hope to break through to the early stage of the Three Tribulation realm. Although everyone had anticipated that Fang Chen would gain boundless merit for saving the divine tree and the living beings of the Netherworld realm, the merit bestowed by the Netherworld realm still far exceeded imagination. The green-robed woman sincerely marveled. It seems the sages of our Netherworld realm also show special favor to our brother Fang. Based on merit alone, they shouldn't have bestowed so much. There must be extra favor involved. Princess Yuyan felt extremely indignant. What is going on? Isn't he just a glib-tongued guy? It's one thing for Mother to like him, but the sages also show favor. That's utterly unreasonable. Fang Chen was also greatly startled by the terrifying amount of merit before him. This is way too much. Enough to allow 10 experts at Heavenly Man's 5 decays to directly break through to the sage realm. Instinctively, he reached out to take it, but then suddenly paused as a thought struck him. But he had not yet reached the Heavenly Man's 5 decays realm, so he couldn't directly receive such enormous merit. Only by converting them into merit, divine pearls would it work. But in that case, half the merit would be lost. That would be far too wasteful. After pondering briefly, he looked up and asked, "Sister, could the sages keep the merit for me for now? I'll come to collect it when I need it." Hearing this, the green-robed woman's face changed slightly. She hastily bowed to the sky canopy with clasped hands, and in a low, anxious, and angry voice said, "The young champion Marquis is ignorant. Please, sages, do not blame him." "A bestowal from the sages, and you dare negotiate? Who taught you to speak to the sages like this?" This was the first time she had ever heard of asking the sages to hold merit for someone. Those are the sages. Their every word and deed is like the manifestation of the great Tao. How could a bestowal be taken back? Princess Yuyan's heart also skipped a beat at Fang Chen's actions. His words were far too outrageous. However, a scene that shocked mother and daughter appeared. The 10 mountain, like golden merit feathers that were about to reach Fang Chen, all flew backward. At the same time, certain information suddenly flooded into the green-robed woman's mind. Her almond eyes widened, and she looked at Fang Chen in disbelief. Princess Yuyan asked in a daze, "Mother, the sages really stored the merit for him." It took the green-robed woman a long while to recover, and she murmured with a complex expression, "The sage said, whenever he wants it, he can come and take it. And also told our family to treat him better." Why? Princess Yuyan's mind went completely blank. Since when have the sages ever cared about a single, individual living being in the Netherworld realm? They have always treated all beings like the laws of the great Tao, utterly without emotion. Now they actually displayed personal feelings and even instructed them to treat Fang Chen better. This is no longer just favoritism. This is blatant doting. The green-robed woman even felt a twinge of jealousy. The sages had never shown such care for her. She stared at Fang Chen and asked suspiciously, "You wouldn't happen to be the offspring of some great sage, would you?" Other than that, she truly couldn't think of any other reason. Fang Chen rubbed his nose and chuckled inwardly. Is it so strange to communicate with the sages? If he told this mother and daughter about his experiences with the ancient sage of Cloud Desolation, wouldn't they be even more astonished? With the merit matter settled, Fang Chen felt completely at ease. He smiled and cupped his hands in farewell. "Sister, then we shall part here." The green-robed woman couldn't help but feel a bit ashamed. "In the end, we're still sending you away empty-handed. Yuyan, on behalf of yourself and your sister, escort your uncle out of the Netherworld realm." "Sister?" Fang Chen then remembered that he had completely forgotten about someone. He took out the jade slip from the drunken grand ritualist and handed it to the green-robed woman, saying, "Although I have already obtained the Blood River ghost flower, the letters are that the drunken grand ritualist entrusted me to deliver to Princess Yu Mayan must still be given. Please pass it on to her, sister." "A letter as well?" The green-robed woman scolded in annoyance. "Where has that darn girl Yu Mayan run off to? Such a huge mess happened, and she didn't come back." Yu Yan frowned and explained, "Little sister is patrolling the weak points in the world barrier, guarding against outsiders infiltrating. Could she have run into danger?" Patrolling the weak points of the world barrier, guarding against outsiders. Strange expression appeared on Fang Chen's face. He took out the spatial mirror from his bosom and asked, "May I ask, what does Princess Yu Mayan look like?" Yu Yan glanced at him, her tone still cool. "Her appearance is similar to mine, but she's very mischievous and likes to play tricks on people." Hearing this, Fang Chen's heart, which had just been hanging, quietly settled. That green-skirted young woman was a woman in her 30s. How could she have a peerless appearance like Yu Yan? But Yu Yan continued, "However, she cultivates the path of illusion arts and likes to change her appearance. Very few have seen her true face." Fang Chen's expression stiffened slightly, and he pressed, "Does she occasionally disguise herself as a young married woman and put on a show of being chased by 9 black-robed men?" Yu Yan looked at him suspiciously. The green-robed woman also exclaimed in surprise, "You've met Yu Mayan." Fang Chen was completely numb. The Yu Mayan he had been searching for everywhere had long been tethered by his own hands. Princess Yu Mayan was on patrol duty, so why did she have to play tricks? He awkwardly scratched his head. "Sister, I have good news and bad news. The good news is, I've seen Yu Mayan, and she is safe and sound." The green-robed woman breathed a slight sigh of relief. Fang Chen's strange expression had made her worry that something had happened to Yu Mayan. But Fang Chen's next sentence made her freeze on the spot. Fang Chen coughed dryly. "The bad news is, I captured her." Before he even finished speaking, he shook the spatial mirror. A flash of light shone on the mirror's surface, and a young woman dressed in a green skirt tumbled out from within. A dog collar was fastened around her neck, suppressing all her power, so that after landing, she was on all fours on the ground, her rear raised, with tears brimming in her eyes. When she looked up and saw the green-robed woman, she cried out emotionally and aggrievedly, "Mother, save me quickly. I've been captured by a pervert. He is that pervert." Swish, swish. The gazes of the green-robed woman and Princess Yu Yan swept over in unison. A proper young lady, tethered in such a posture on the ground, it was hard not to associate it with certain colorful imagery. Fang Chen's face flushed, and he quickly untied the dog chain, coughing dryly to explain, "It's the chain's unique ability, not something I did intentionally. The thing is, that day I..." He briefly explained the sequence of events, and the green-robed woman and Princess Yu Yan's eyes finally returned to normal. The green-robed woman was both frightened and angry. She was entrusted by the drunken grand ritualist to find you, and you, without asking for any explanation, ambushed her. "It's lucky she didn't kill you. Apologize to her now." The green-skirted young woman, who was Princess Yu Mayan, knew she was also in the wrong, so she pouted her lips and reluctantly glanced sideways at Fang Chen. "You're from that drunkard." Fang Chen handed over the letter in his hand. "She entrusted me to deliver it to you." The jade-faced princess's eyes lit up. She took it and pressed it to her forehead, her eyes curving into crescent moons with joy. "Mom, that drunkard invited me to play in the Middle Continent. He even said I should squeeze Fang Chen for a big haul. Says this guy's loaded his collection rivals that of their grand libationer." After speaking, her eyeballs rolled craftily as she sized Fang Chen up from head to toe. The green-robed woman cut her off impatiently. "Forget it. He already obtained the Blood River ghost flower. You can't squeeze him. Also, call him uncle. Don't learn from your sister, showing no respect." He had originally thought this Princess Yumian would be as aloof as her older sister. Who would have thought? She suddenly leaned in, grabbed Fang Chen's arm, and shook it vigorously, coquettishly saying, Uncle Tilda, it's our first meeting. Don't I get a greeting gift?" Fang Chen was caught off guard by her sudden enthusiasm. Should he say she was naturally lively, or cunning? Fang Chen couldn't help but smile at her words. That shamelessness of hers was somewhat similar to his own. From within the heavenly lightning stone, he slowly drew out a strand of brilliant golden hair. As soon as the hair appeared, it was shockingly demon Saint Blood. He had duplicated many before, most of which he gave to Lingshu to use on her journey, keeping only one as a seed. Recently, while traveling through the void, he had duplicated all kinds of treasures using that dog bowl, and this demon Saint Blood was one of them. Since this strand was newly duplicated, he might as well just give it to her. Fang Chen casually handed over that strand of golden silk, declaring loudly, "It's yours." The moment the demon Saint Blood appeared, the blood and Kai within the green-robed woman and her 2 daughters instantly surged and roiled. The green-robed woman had profound cultivation, so she could barely suppress it, but the 2 sisters Yuyan and Yumian, the white fox phantom within their bodies, actually activated uncontrollably, bursting out fiercely. The illusory white fox form hovered in midair, staring down fixedly at the strand of demon Saint Blood, its eyes revealing extreme longing as it paced back and forth restlessly in the air. The green-robed woman's expression changed slightly, shocked. "Demon Saint Blood, Brother Fan, you mustn't listen to Yumian's nonsense. Such a sacred object, how can it be given away casually? You must know just how precious is this demon Saint Blood. For the demon race, it has unparalleled enhancement effects, and it is simply impossible to find in the outside world." Fang Chen, however, smiled indifferently and said in a relaxed tone, "It's just a strand of demon Saint Blood, not worth much." "Yumian, take it quickly." Yumian's eyes widened instantly, and she asked in a trembling voice, disbelieving, You're really giving it to me?" A warm smile appeared on Fang Chen's face as he looked at her steadily and said, "Just for the fact that you're willing to call me uncle, it's yours." Yumian's small hands trembled as she carefully received the strand of golden silk, her voice shaking with excitement. "That drunkard really didn't deceive me. Fang." "No, my uncle is a god of wealth, a huge god of wealth." She hastily put away the demon Saint Blood and threw her arms around Fang Chen's arm, rubbing her face against it coquettishly, sweetly shouting, "Thank you, uncle. Yumian loves you to death." Under this extreme excitement, the illusion magic she maintained instantly faded away completely. A peerless beauty that could make hearts flutter was thus revealed without concealment, indeed strikingly similar to Yuyan. Only her features appeared more youthful and innocent, looking just like a teenage girl of 17 or 18. Just at that moment, beyond the heavens and earth, 9 black-robed figures suddenly sensed the emergence of the original body and hurried over one after another. They instantly transformed into 9 streaks of pure white light, shooting into Yumian's body like swallows returning to the nest. In the next moment, 9 fluffy foxtails appeared out of thin air behind Yumian, gently swaying. The aura emanating from her body also surged madly, climbing all the way to the sage realm. Seeing this scene, Fang Chen was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. So this girl's true strength was actually the sage realm. If she had displayed this kind of power earlier, how could there have been those troubles afterward? He shook his head helplessly, gently freed his arm from Yumian's grasp, and said, "Uncle has to go now. If you get the chance later, come play in the middle continent." But Yumian was like a piece of sticky candy, immediately clinging on again. Her sparkling eyes shining, she asked eagerly, "Where is Uncle going? Bring Yumian along." "Yumian will also follow Uncle to fight in the Dark World, and become a mighty champion Marquis too." Seeing this, the green-robed woman grabbed her back with one hand, glared fiercely at her, then looked at Fang Chen with an embarrassed expression. "Please excuse this, Brother Fan. My little daughter is so naughty beyond words. I'll send you out of the Netherworld right away." Turning her head, she instructed Yuyan, watch her, don't let her run wild again. With that, the green-robed woman waved her sleeve, summoning a gentle green light, and carrying Fang Chen straight into the sky beyond. Yumian, left behind by her mother, couldn't help but pout her little mouth, muttering under her breath, "If I follow Uncle, I could get huge benefits. Don't you get that? Ah, an unreasonable mother, a broken home. Without me, this family would have fallen apart long ago." Immediately, she cheerfully took out the strand of demon Saint Blood, placed it in her fair palm, turning it over and over with delight, exclaiming in wonder, "Wow, such fresh demo and Saint Blood. It's like it was just taken from a demon saint's body. With this trace of demon Saint Blood, I'll definitely become stronger than that deadpan sister." Yuyan, standing nearby, her almond eyes wide open, glared intensely over and scolded in a delicate voice, "Stop showing off here." She was standing right there. Yumian's words were clearly meant to needle her on purpose. Yumian, smiling sweetly as she fingered the demon Saint Blood, deliberately leaned closer and asked, "Sis, you don't have one. Why didn't Uncle give you any demon Saint Blood?" Yuyan subconsciously glanced at the golden silk in her hand, couldn't help biting her tender red lip lightly, and with a forced cold expression said, "I don't care for it. Besides, you call a complete stranger uncle. Aren't you ashamed?" Hearing this, Yumian swiftly put away the demon Saint Blood, puffed out her chest, and retorted righteously, "I'll call him that.
I will.
In the future, Uncle will give me lots and lots of demon saint blood. You just stand by and gawk.
Yuyan's slender jade hand clenched fiercely inside her sleeve, her tone growing even colder. Stop dreaming.
Does demon saint blood just appear out of thin air? Being able to give you this one strand is already a supreme fortune.
Outside the realm. The green-robed woman stopped and said warmly, Brother Fan, take great care along the way.
Fang Chen cupped his hands in salute and said solemnly, You as well, sister, farewell.
He swiftly took out the void feather garment, activated it, and in an instant his entire person transformed into a dazzling golden afterimage, vanishing in a flash amid the vast expanse of heaven and earth.
The green-robed woman quietly watched his departing figure, but did not immediately return to the Netherworld.
A sharp glint flashed in her eyes. She calmly swept the surroundings with a cold glare and murmured to herself, HMPH, every last one of you, not quite content.
As it happens, this big sister of mine hasn't given Brother Fan any decent gift yet, so I'll just blow some good stuff out of you as a congratulatory present.